Okay, we'll finally get around to going over Silent Hill 1. I decided in the end to do this in order, so 1 now, 2 in a few days, 3 a little bit after that, and then 4 after that. Silent Hill, everyone. A genre-defining game, and held up by most people as one of the best games ever made, as well as Silent Hill 2. They're both just brilliant games. We're going to go over the gameplay story of the first game and talk about it, as well as the second, third, and the fourth over the coming weeks. If there is more demand to do the ones after 4, obviously after 4 they kind of went downhill a little bit, but if anyone wants me to cover those, I will as well. But without any further ado, let's get into Silent Hill 1. Alright, so Silent Hill 1, you play as Harry Mason, who is looking for his daughter in the town of Silent Hill. In the original video I made talking about going over these games, we went over the kind of origins of the town. There are 2 different ones. One, I'll go over these in brief terms. You can check out that video if you want more detailed description. But one is a fire took place all the way through the town and basically killed everyone and left it abandoned. Only a few people stayed behind, and it's always constantly on fire, hence the smoke and the fog. And it's never really been able to be put out. I think that's mainly used in the movies, but the interesting one, the more interesting one to me, is that the town is a gateway. It's sentient. It has a mind. It's like in a separate realm, like a pocket realm. You have the normal town, which is just abandoned and empty. The fog realm, and then the other world, I think it's called, which is essentially hell. Hence all the monsters walking around that are trying to kill you all the time. This town is not okay, basically. But yeah, essentially Harry's gone there to go and find his missing adopted daughter, and we'll get to reasons why that's the case in a future video. And as you get to the town and uncover the secrets, you find that there's a cult there that is trying to kind of do bad things with his daughter involved, and eventually you do find out the reasons why this happens and what they're trying to do. Again, I won't outright spoil anything, but that is the gist of the story. You go there to find your daughter who is missing, and then you discover something so much bigger than what you ended up going there for in the first place. So, very intriguing story. Gameplay, as you can probably tell, it's more of a third-person game than a fixed camera angle game that we know of from, the original Resident Evil games. Very nice change of pace. Obviously, a survival horror game in a sense as well. Limited ammo, limited healing. You have to look for things if you want to survive. One thing that I really like about Silent Hill, and a lot of people who have played the games do notice as well, is the audio in these games is so fucking creepy. Like, the audio design for these games is incredible. It goes all the way through 1 to 4. There's just eerie shit in the background. The music is unsettling. You can hear things that aren't even... they're not even a threat. They're just noises in the background, or footsteps, or moaning, whatever it may be. It's insane. It really does add that depth of immersion that some games in the genre miss. But it keeps you on edge. You think something's coming with it, it's not. And I love that. Also, a little thing that mainly PlayStation people will notice is if you had a DualShock controller at the time, if you were low on health, the controller would kind of pulse at a rate that would kind of signify your health level. Like if it was like a normal heartbeat, you'd be fine. But if it was getting faster, you would know that you're in trouble. Like, you're gonna die soon if you're not careful. I love that. I thought that was a really nice touch. A lot of games do that a lot nowadays. For example, if you have a PS5 and you play Resident Evil Village, you'll know that the light bar on the controller, just here, these lights here, if you're completely healthy and fine, the lights are green. If you're kind of nearly gonna die, or you're kind of middling, it's orange. And if you're in danger state, it's red, and it does kind of flash like that as well. They did that with the 3 remake and the 2 remake on PS4 as well. Same thing, the light bar on top of the controller would change colour depending on your health state. It's always nice to see these little details in games, and it goes back as far as the original Silent Hill. Some more small attentions to details in this game is Harry is not particularly good at handling guns. He's not very experienced, so the aim of the player and the kind of the look of a bullet hitting is dependent on him. Which I think is really cool because it shows this inexperience with weapons. Another thing, you can find maps throughout the game, treasure maps, normal maps, stuff like that, and you can only read them if you're in a lit area, it won't let you read it in the dark, which is super cool. It's not every map that does that. I think there's like a main map where you can kind of look at it anywhere, but some things you find and you're like, okay, I can't do this here because I can't see it. So another depth of immersion there. Of course, the game is filled with many puzzles and locked doors. It became a bit of a meme within Silent Hill, with all the locked doors, more specifically in Silent Hill 2. I think it's just hilarious that there's like 50 million locked doors and you can interact with every single one of them and it still says locked. But, as you know, if you're a survival horror player, you're looking everywhere for stuff, so you're going to be trying all these doors anyway to see which ones open, which ones don't. Because I believe in this game, I could be wrong, there wasn't that kind of system that Resident Evil had where you could kind of look at the map and go, okay, I've been in this room, this door's locked. And, you know, you kind of had to remember this shit in this game, which was a bit more involved. That might not be true, but I swear, in one of the games, that's the case. Silent Hill also usually, I say usually as in not all of them do it, but this game has multiple endings, and it again is dependent on player choice throughout the game. I love that in games like this. You know, that you come to a point where you have to do something or not do something, and it does affect what happens at the end. I believe 1 has 5 endings, one of them being a bit of a joke ending, but then 4 actual endings, and obviously a good or bad, and then 2 others. I love decision making in games like this. It hasn't been done in a Resident Evil game before, not really. With 7, they tried it, but it's not really impactful to the end of the game, apart from, well, you know, you pick ending 1 and you and Mia get away. You pick ending 2 and you get away and Mia dies. Permanently. Obviously one ending is the actual ending where the other one it really isn't. But it didn't affect the gameplay or the end of the game at all, which is strange. If they want to do that again, I would say make more decisions throughout the game rather than just right near the end. It makes more sense that way, but Silent Hill does it pretty well, I would say. Speaking of the horror of the games now, if you've, again, I'm going to kind of refer everything to Resident Evil because they are kind of the similar game. If you play Resident Evil, more importantly the first 3 originally, you'll know that the tone of a Resident Evil game is always like a B-horror movie. You know, it's cheesy, they're all cheesy in a way, but it's enjoyable. You know, it's not like over-the-top cringe, but not all of them take themselves too seriously at times, which is fine. It's one of the reasons I love the series so much anyway. But with Silent Hill, they really go in with the psychological aspect of horror. Like, this is not a normal place you're at. This is not just an abandoned mansion or a town in trouble with a zombie outbreak. This is a otherworldly town that is just not okay. The people who live there still are not good people. The town itself is alive, and you gotta figure out what's going on, because if you don't, you're gonna be in a heap of shit if you don't. And another thing about Silent Hill, well, every single one of them really, you're not playing as this, you know, a police officer or, you know, a member of an elite team of soldiers sent in to deal with something. You are playing as a guy. Kind of how they did it with Ethan in 7. You know, Ethan in 7 is inexperienced, he doesn't have a clue what's going on. He's just a dude. Although, you know, with Ethan, you figure out he's not just a dude in the end, but that's a different thing. But anyway, Harry Mason, you know, James Sunderland, and, you know, Cheryl, in a sense, for 3, and then obviously, you know, Henry in 4. They're all just people. They're all just people trying to figure out what's going on. No special military training, nothing of the sort. You're just playing as a dude, trying to do a thing. Or a girl trying to do a thing in 3. It's, again, a whole new layer of immersion, because, you know, put yourself in this situation. You know, you have no military training, you are not a soldier or an elite member of a special task force, you are just a dude trying to find his kid. So, it's a whole other thing. But yeah, that's Silent Hill 1. A brief look at Silent Hill 1 and, you know, what it did so well and how it kind of defines the genre, you know, from way back then. Again, a lot of people consider this to be the best one. 2 is a massive conversation to have. People hold 2 in such high regards as one of the best games ever made, let alone the best game of this type. Like, people love 2. And I can't wait to go over 2 and discuss the story more in depth. I have more exposure to 2 than most of the other ones, so I can kind of really throw out my own opinions on the game. I haven't played Silent Hill 1 in forever. Like, I've played it a couple of times way back, but not for a long time. But I do remember it being a bloody brilliant game. So if you haven't played Silent Hill 1, or any of the Silent Hill games really, definitely check them out. Do not sleep on those games, especially if you're a big fan of Resident Evil. You will love Silent Hill as well. But yeah, Silent Hill video is now done. Silent Hill 2 is coming very soon, in the next couple of weeks. And then we'll move on to 3 and 4 some point after that. Let me know your thoughts on Silent Hill 1 down in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.